All right, let's talk about a subject that I haven't talked about at all yet. It's something that I've really been kind of circling around that I want to really hit on it today. I realize it's not just me that has problems, and if you have school-age kids, you should probably listen up. School as it's structured now is not developed for success. It's not developed to create successful people in life. What do I mean by successful? Not accumulating mass amounts of wealth, but what I mean is by successful here. More productive, happy people in life, okay? That's Guillermo. Like, I can't tell you enough how ridiculous I think school is. I started laying out of school when I was in 6th grade. 7th grade, I missed 160 days. And then as I got into high school, I quit altogether. I got a GED. I went on to get a associate in architecture, which I'm not using, by the way. But here I am in a midlife crisis. I have no clue what to do. If we taught this early on, find that career path that made the child happy, thus making the adult happy, right? Because we're learning that a lot of adult problems, adult mental illness are stemming from childhood trauma, including school. How many of you guys were just happy in high school? How many of you felt great about yourselves in high school if you weren't one of the in kids or one of the popular kids? I mean, truthfully, I hated it. You know, I was fat. I was 300 pounds. I got made fun of. I remember a girl, I won't get into that right now, but nobody likes high school. All it is a popularity contest. It is a waste of time. So let's take high school and turn it into career development instead of wasted classes. Do you need advanced algebra? Maybe. I took it. Not only failing ourselves for our future as geriatric adults, but we're also failing our kids to be any kind of successful unless they have the power to see early on that school is not structured for them, not structured for their education. It's masked that way, but who is the powers governing this and how can it be changed? I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about it, but it's fallen on deaf ears. Like, nobody hears it, and I can't be the only one that thinks this way. I can't be the only one that thinks, why should my neurodivergent son be forced through not only middle school, right? He has another year and a half of middle school, but then 4 more years of high school, which is pure torture for a kid with potential autism. Why should this kid be forced through 4 years of high school with the threat of failure because he hates it? Well, that's just tradition. We all have to go to school. Bullshit. Why? Why should we have to go to school in that capacity? How about this? Let's find out what he likes. He likes engineering, building things. So let's focus on that. And how can we make him a good engineer? How can we teach him how to be successful as an engineer instead of focusing on sports and, yes, I get it, health and fitness and all this shit. Let's focus on him as a person and not a generic program, especially if you're that square peg in the round hole. It just doesn't fit. Our kids live on media to the point where we're brain damaged as a society, and it's only going to get worse. They're becoming more and more depressed. They're becoming more and more anxious. They're having more panic attacks in school at an earlier age. And this is not just me speculating. This is stories that I get, okay? So where are we going wrong? Can we please restructure the school system to reflect a modern society? What do we need from the generation coming up? What do we need for them to be producers of some kind? What do we need for them to be happy in life, to be happy doing something they're good at and they know it's going to be fulfilling? And how can they get paid to make a living? Because this is the crossroads I'm at. I don't want to see my kids become 42 years old and feel stuck, backed into a corner like I am. My degree is no longer relevant. The only thing I had was career in tattooing, which was successful by terms of money. But as soon as that's over, as soon as your hands, your back fails you, as soon as your mind fails you, your clientele walks away, in 1 week, you're washed, done. Now what? Right? You're in the same boat as me. It's either Social Security or retrain. But what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? You still have to make a living because it's naive to think you can get through the world without making money. We have to have money to survive. It's just life. It's how it is. If I was taught early on, okay, you like architecture, just like my son, engineering. I think that's his calling and he seems to be interested in it, at least now. And yes, kids can change their mind as they grow, and that's a prime opportunity to where their brain is still absorbing knowledge and we can still teach them how to be the best they can be at what they want to be and what they want to do. right? And as that changes, then have redevelopment or programs set in place. Okay, this is not working. It's not what you thought it might be. So we're in the ballpark. Let's restructure a little bit and get you into that square hole for the square peg, I guess. I don't know. Something needs to happen, and I think it can. I think it's going to take more people thinking and talking about it, because right now, aside from the socialization aspect, I would rather my kids be homeschooled, because I feel like they know what they need to know academically until they need to know more, if that makes sense. By the time we hit middle school, we've already been taught basic fundamentals of math and reading. We know how to write and properly articulate and communicate. We can get further into that as we get into more advanced studies, but what I'm seeing is not really a set structure on how teachers perform. My son, for instance, behind in math because he hasn't turned in an assignment. Well, that assignment is not properly posted. It's hard to get to. You got to navigate like 4 or 5 different links to even know that assignment's due, okay? So kids are getting Fs and they're failing courses because they have no idea, because everything's so technologically oriented, all right? We're geared to do everything online, and everything is to be submitted online, but yet he still has papers that he has to bring home and fill out. I really don't understand. So it's like, why do we do this? What is the point of anything past 7th grade? Because we know what we need to know to be successful in life as far as academically, okay, at that point. Okay, hear me out. Japanese philosophy, and I'm probably gonna say it wrong, Ikigai. Okay. All right, let's talk about this. It's the crossroads of what makes you happy, what are you good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for, okay? And so when we take these 4 concepts and we cross them, then we have a fulfilled life. But until we understand this, then we're taking kids and we're shoving them through. It's a wasted time when we could be taking that time and finding out what this child, right, this moldable child still learning, is good at, and what do they like to do in life, and what's going to drive them to be the best them they can be, and potentially identifying early neurodivergent problems like ADHD, like autism. Because what I'm seeing is we're pressuring our kids to the point of mental illness. We're just unhappiness. By the time they get to middle school, look around and kids are moody as a whole. I get it. Teenagers, hormones, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But I see a difference as a parent of 2 teenagers. I see a difference. My son, for instance, you know, he's starting to see counseling. And my daughter too. I see the pressure on her in tears of a grade point dropping by a fraction of a percent, right? A fraction of a percent we're talking. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Even doctors, even brain surgeons, even lawyers, somebody finishes at the bottom of the class. They finish at the bottom, which means they've done the worst out of everybody in this class, but they still passed. And they passed their boards, and they're a practitioner. So they can do these things. Here I'm going to go with the old man thing, is saying when I was in school, we did not have this. I don't remember having that kind of pressure. Where are we with this? Look early on, let's find out what our kids are good at and go with that. And what can they make a living at? And a living that is adequate, right? Not a living that is excessive. So before I went off on that rant, sorry, I got sidetracked, but I would really like to see the principles of Ikigai in the last 4 years of our education system, at least, maybe more, and put the effort into that child to find out what drives them. What are they good at? What do they love? What does the world need from them? And what can they get paid to make a living at? Because where it stands now, we're at a cluster, if you will, of all the teachers not knowing where assignments are even being posted, where assignments should be turned in at, and if they're not turned in, then the child's failing, even if they're a great student. So yes, they have potential to make it up, but sometimes they can't even reach the teacher. Anyway, there's no structure anymore. There's no definitive line of, well, this is how we communicate, this is where you can find the assignments, this is how they're turned in. It's just a mess, and it's for each teacher to decide how they choose to interact and correspond with the parents and with the child. So thank you for listening.
and I hope you have something to say about it because I would love to hear it.